Welcome to the Junk Drawer Mamas with your hosts Deena Trissino and Christina Queen. We are so glad you're here with us as we sort through the drama and the trauma of life's hidden struggles to uncover hope and healing with a side of humor on this roller coaster ride we like to call extreme parenting. Whether you're raising a child or a teen with special needs, dealing with challenging behaviors, tackling addiction, mental health issues, or working through the trauma associated with foster care, it's a lot, and we get it. But you don't have to do this alone. So grab a cozy chair, settle in, and let's take this journey together.
Hey there, welcome to the Junk Drawer Mamas podcast. Welcome back, where we are sorting through the junk drawer of life to find some hope, healing, and maybe even a side of humor. I am Deena Trissino, and I'm here with my co-host, Christina Queen. And today, on this episode 4, we are going to actually be discussing stress. This is a big topic for us, especially those moms that have extreme parenting situations. And as we've shared, if you've listened to any of the other episodes that we have, we've shared our stories. Christina has a very large family. She's parenting 10 kids right now, 4 in diapers, 4 with special needs, and I have a special needs child. So there's a lot of stress involved in that kind of a life. So we wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, kind of what that is, the different types of stress, and then maybe just share a little bit about, our own experiences. And so I want to start off a little bit with what actually stress is. I think everybody understands what stress is. We all go through stress, but there's different types of stress. So I was kind of doing some research on that to try to break that down. There is acute stress, and we were laughing about this earlier.
Yes. Deena says there's acute stress, and I was like, what is she talking about? Like, what does cute stress look like? I didn't hear the acute. I'm like, cute stress? Who has cute stress? Mike's stress is not like cute here at all. Go ahead. I was totally lost for a minute.
Anyway, so it's acute stress. And that's like short-term temporary stress. It could be a situation where, it's like an incident that happens where there's a challenging situation, but it passes. Okay. Like an example of that would like meeting a deadline or an emergency, or, your child has an emergency and it's quick, it's short, but it passes. And then
that's every day for me. I have acute stress every day. And there's nothing cute about it. I promise.
Then it's called 𝗺stress. It's actually positive stress. I didn't know there was such a thing called 𝗺stress. Anyway, that's stress that motivates and enhances performance, such as preparing for a presentation. So like if you're really excited, like I need
that stress.
We're about to go to this amazing business convention coming up, and there's stress coming up to it, but we're very excited, but it's like a positive stress. And then there's the distress. So we've got acute stress, and de-stress or distress, negative stress. That's what we're going to be talking about. So in the category of negative stress, there is like the short-term stress, but really what we're here to talk about is the chronic stress. So when you're in a situation where you're dealing with a long-term parenting situation that is special needs, we've talked about this, where the special needs, it could be behavior issues, it could be, you have a child that's dealing with an addiction, a mental health issue, foster care. Christina deals with all of the trauma that's associated with foster care. Her and her husband have been doing that for over 30 years.
20 years. I'm sorry. They've been married for over 30 years. We've had over 30 children coming in and out of our home.
Yeah. So they bring in their stress along with the stress of being able to parent in that situation. So it's the chronic stress that can affect a caregiver. So you might hear the term caregiver. We refer to it as parenting, extreme parenting, or special needs parenting, or whatever that might be. But when you're looking up different situations on stress, what we find is that you're going to find it's under caregiver, because it could be whether you're caring for an ailing parent or somebody that's just, maybe has a medical issue and you're taking care of that person. So it's caregiver burnout that actually turns into chronic stress. So chronic stress is something that is like ongoing, where the situation is just every day. There's no relenting from that situation. And this is some of the stuff that I've dealt with in my, situation with my special needs daughter. There is no ending to it. So how do you handle a situation like that? And so this kind of stress affects every single area of your body. It starts, in like all the way to the core of who you are. It affects your brain. The longer you go into this chronic state of stress, you could be susceptible to post-traumatic stress disorder, or it's actually called CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And that affects your brain and your limbic system and your HPA axis, your frontal cortex here, where that's your command center. That whole command center, if that is off, or you are not able to manage stress, and you can't even manage any kind of stress. You can't manage environmental stress, so you're more susceptible to autoimmune diseases. Parents that are dealing with chronic stress are more susceptible to diabetes. They're more susceptible to anxiety and depression. They're more susceptible to heart disease. All of this those are stress. A lot of those are stress-related diseases. So we don't think of that in a parenting situation. But when you're inundated with that every single day and you don't know how to manage that, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, again, this is probably something that we're going to have to talk about in 2 episodes, just because there's so much to unpack, and to be able to give you like the, tips and tools and even biblical advice on how to manage that. The Bible is filled with tools and just life-giving scriptures that would help us to be able to manage that. So just for now, we want to talk about the different types of stress. So we talked about the acute stress, and chronic stress. But there's also there's stress in marriages. We talked about that. 87% of marriages that have a special needs child, the statistics end in divorce. We have physical stress. So there was an article from the Mayo Clinic that talked about parents or moms that are raising a special needs child have the stress hormone levels of a combat soldier. That's pretty intense.
I believe that. Absolutely.
So that cortisol high. So you're basically in fight, flight, or freeze constantly. So when you're in fight, flight, or freeze all the time, your body shuts down. It doesn't know how to process even the slightest little bit of stress. So we were all designed to be able to handle that, but not at the extreme levels that we have. So we might, like if you've ever noticed, I don't know if you deal with this, Christina, but even like a slammed door. Do you ever jump for the slammed door? Or somebody might just be behind you to talk and you will jump like a soldier that's dealing with PTSD. I don't know why I do that, but even when my husband tries to come behind me, I didn't even know he was in the room, and I jump and he's like, "What's the matter with you?" Like, I don't know. I just startle very, very easily. So you're like either hypervigilant on something or you're startled very easily. Anyway, that's all from dealing with those long-term stresses. There's financial stress. There's financial stress on a family. I can't even imagine the financial stress that you guys have had trying to just feed all the kids that you've had and manage that ginormous house that you guys have.
Christmas. It's Christmas. That's what's fun. Christmas time.
Yeah. And then there's the relational stress that, this is why Christina and I put this together, is because, here we are. I'm from Michigan. She's from Ohio. And we don't get to see each other, but really, honestly, a few times a year in person. But we created a relationship because I can't do this without somebody by my side. And so you might find I don't get out very often. It's hard to take my daughter out. She has a lot of trouble out in public. And so I don't get to take her out very often if I don't have a babysitter. So I lack the personal relationships, one-on-one relationships. Yeah. So I rely on online relationships.
Same here. Ours is just the sheer volume of kids that we're taking out every time we go. I mean, yeah.
Are you the one that doesn't get invited to the birthday parties?
Absolutely. Nobody wants us coming because we bring the whole party with us, man. Yeah.
You want a party.
Right. Yep.
That's so funny. So why don't you share a little bit? I'm going to have Christina kind of take over here a little bit on that. She's actually had a pretty stressful day even getting to this podcast recording today. She just got back from a vacation, a nice relaxing vacation with her hubby, to come home to a house full of sick kids that were throwing up. So I'm going to let her share just how does she manage that kind of stress and still, keep her head on her shoulders and stuff.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, yesterday was stressful anyways because we were trying to fly out of Cancun and we had a delay, and then we almost missed our layover in Chicago. And so we had to run for the plane pretty much with a whole group of people. So anyways, so it was stressful getting home. And then I had my little 9-year-old granddaughter texting me, asking me if I would come pick her up at 10:30 at night because she wanted to come see Mama and Papa. So I picked up the two of our granddaughters, brought them. And then as soon as we walked through the door, one of our little ones is just puking in the hallway. Our little 2-year-old with Down syndrome, she's just throwing up in the hallway. And she's thrown up, 4 or 5 times today. We've got the 9-month-old sick. We've got the 3-year-old, one of the 3-year-olds sick. The other 3-year-old was sick while we were gone. It's that, just a lot to come home to. That being said, by now, obviously, we're used to this and this kind of stress because, this can pretty much be daily. There's different seasons where it is a lot worse than other seasons. But I knew, coming home last night that same as I do every day. I have not always done this, but for the last couple years, I get up early, way earlier than everybody else, because if not, then I will have no time. But I get up usually 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I try to get up at 5 and just get in my office and get alone with God and get a teaching, something that's encouraging for the day, something that's just going to help build me up and encourage me for that day. I pray over everybody, pray over my husband before he goes to work, and I just put a covering over everyone, over our home. Pray a covering. I pray peace on our home. And that usually, it can really shift a day big time. It does not always, obviously, keep your day stress-free, just because that's part of life. But it changes the way that I can handle the stress. It changes my approach to the stress. It changes whether I'm like losing it and end up breaking down and either feeling like, crying, pulling my hair out, or, yelling at a kid. It chooses the way I respond to the stress. It can be a difference of, me laughing at it or me just losing it and just, pretty much losing my stuff on everybody in the house and just yelling at everybody.
Kicking the cat, the dog, everybody.
Right, and it's everybody's fault, and you guys did it, and that's not the way this is supposed to be. And all of us, every mom has had that time. Some of us have it more often than others, but I have definitely noticed a massive difference in whether I'm tapping into God throughout the day, even if it's 5 minutes, getting alone. If I'm starting to get really stressed throughout the day, getting alone, spending a little bit of time with God, whether it might just be in, going to the bathroom without the kids, even if they're outside my door, banging on my door. I've opened my bathroom door and they've almost fell on top of me. I'm like, what the heck, man?
That's funny. I got a cat banging on my door right now trying to get in.
Right.
So if you hear banging, it's my cat.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing in there?
Yep. Exactly. Just, you get those moments where you can step away. You might be when you're driving with the kids arguing in the back and you're just up front praying and talking to God and just trying to survive the stress that every mom is under. I don't care whether you have 10 kids. I don't care if you have 1 kid. Every mom is under a great deal of stress. There's so much that we have to do. We're responsible for a life or a lot of lives. Getting them to where they need to go, getting them dressed, doing their hair, doing just all the things that we do. Mm-hmm. Doctor's appointments, school, sports, whatever. It's stressful. Even the drive someplace is stressful. Dealing with other people in traffic, and I'm still, I need a lot of prayer when I'm driving because
you got
those people get on my nerves,
screaming.
And they're not even the ones that get on my nerve. Well, maybe it is them. I don't know. But the other drivers, I'm like, get out of my way. And my kids are back there like, get out of my mom's way.
Get out of my mom's way. You don't know what she's been under today. You better get out of my mom's way.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah. And I don't want my kids to all be back there, a little version of me yelling at the other drivers.
My gosh, that's funny.
I'm like, help me, Jesus, help me.
So let me ask you a question. Over the years, have you found that, being in these stressful situations, has it affected your health or anything that you've had to deal with where, you are now trying to repair, a health issue or just things that you've dealt with? Kind of share a little bit about that.
Yeah. I would say that for sure. It definitely, stress affects your health big time. I've got ulcers. I've got, you name it, I've gotten it. Some of it is just strictly because of stress, I'm sure. But when you're under stress too, you don't care for yourself the way that you should.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue too for me.
Right. So instead, I end up, I eat poorly. I'll go from being way up here and doing great and, get eating the right things and doing the right things to I just don't have time to deal with it. I'm too stressed out. And I'm a person that has had a tendency in the past. I'm trying to get better with it. Jesus is helping me. But stress eat. When I start to get stressed out, I am literally looking for food. I need something at least I feel like I need something to munch on. I need something to eat. I need something to calm me down. That's just my history of, if I get stressed out, I want to eat. I stress to eat. So it definitely affects your health. Oh my gosh. Yeah. When you're stressed out, your body's going to feel it. Your body's going to know it. Yeah. It's miserable. You get drained.
So you were talking about like your eating or whatever, but one of the things that is very key in your health when it comes to stress is that stress will actually cause you to attain weight, to gain weight. So this has been one of the things that I've struggled with. I've struggled with my weight most of my life. But
Same.
When I really started researching what the issue was, because I never have really eaten like a ton of food at one time. I'm not that kind of an eater. I'm not saying I ate good all the time, but especially when we were running our youth outreach, my gosh, we lived on, as people call donations of pizza and spaghetti and tacos and, that kind of stuff. My mom always cooked really good meals. We called her our chief cook and bottle washer, and she would make all these really nice meals. But there were a lot of people that would donate food because we fed all these kids, 100 kids every week. You gotta cook what's cheap. And so what we did, we ate a lot of pizza and spaghetti and, that kind of stuff. So, but it wasn't a lot of food at one time. But over the period of time, especially after having 𝗁cie, it was just like, when I had 𝗁cie, I was already in a stress state because we were running our youth outreach, and it was probably the most stressful time of my life, the busiest time of my life. And wasn't all bad stress. Some of that was that positive stress because we were doing a lot of great things with the local youth, but it was also stressful running all of that, being the executive director there and managing my own household and in our marriage and everything else. And we were, using all of our finances for that. So we're always under some sort of financial stress. Now you add that in that state. Now you add a pregnancy at 42 that I wasn't expecting.
That's not stressful, Deena.
That wreaked havoc on my body. So right after I had her, my body went into menopause. I went into menopause early. And so everything started shutting down there. And, there were things that were happening that I didn't know. So a couple of the other things too, when you're in a constant state of high cortisol, fight, flight, or freeze, which produces an overabundance of cortisol, then you become cortisol resistant. That causes what's is called muscle wasting. So your muscles start to decay and break down. So I would start falling. I was doing things where my muscles were, and I've always been pretty strong. When I was a kid, I ran track, I rode horses, and I was an ice skater. Everything was leg sports. I had pretty solid legs, but as I grew older and the more stress I was under, it was like my muscles were not working anymore. And I didn't know what was going on with that. And that was a hormonal issue. And I still struggle with that today. It's still something I'm trying to work on, try to figure out how to gain the strength back in my legs. And sometimes I can't go up and down the stairs. And you don't think like what caused all that? That's from dealing with some very high stressful situations. Honestly, most of our marriage has been stressful. We've had one thing after another in our marriage, and we've had 25 years of it, and so when you don't know how to manage it, you don't know what you're doing. Now I do, but, it was a lot of years of not knowing what to do, not sleeping. I would go, so many moms in extreme situations are sleep deprived. I was barely, I'm sure that you understand that. And I wasn't really an early to bed person because I just couldn't shut my brain off. Again, you're in this racing mode, even though your body is exhausted, but you can't get to sleep. And then when 𝗁cie came, she's 14 and she still wakes me up almost every night. It's been 14 years of being woke up every night for one thing or another. So I don't really get a deep sleep. Now I go to bed early, but for years I went to bed late. I might get 2-3 hours of sleep. Well, that, so if you are the one night of being sleep deprived raises your insulin level to that of like a diabetic. You keep doing that and doing that and doing that night after night after night, year after year after year, your body is like in complete shutdown mode. So that's what was happening to me. I've lost massive amounts of hair where I've got like just clumps of hair, crying, like, where is this coming from? So it's, brittle nails, losing hair, just so many different things, gut issues. It's all from chronic stress, and so over the years I've learned, how to take care of my body, but there's so much damage that it doesn't just happen overnight. It doesn't just change overnight, So anyway, I just can relate to that, what you were saying. So,
yeah. Life is stressful.
It is.
Just in general. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. So tell me a little bit more, because you're somebody that, like you said earlier, is that, like, first of all, I believe 100% the same as Christina, is that I just don't think that you could do this without Jesus. For many years, I wasn't doing it with God. I thought I was. I've been a Christian since I was a teenager, but I just didn't know what it was like to partner with him, to actually walk side by side and partner with him in this. Like, I always felt like, why would you do this to me? Like it was some sort of a punishment, and not that he created me for this and that he called me to this role of being a special needs mom, and that he was giving me everything that I needed. But I was striving in my own ability to do it, and I couldn't do it. Until I learned to surrender that and actually give that to him and partner with him, I was always in a state of stress. I was always snapping at people, or, but a lot of times I was controlling a situation only because I was trying to control myself from getting hurt or having more pain in the situation. But that was causing more stress too. So anyway, partnering with God is what made the difference for me.
Yeah.
And so I've never been able to. There's a little friendly fly. He keeps coming back when we do the
it's like
he wants
negative
to hear about
outside. Too. Where did this fly come from?
I don't know.
He's stressing me out, Deena.
Share a little bit about your journey and how it was that you said that you have to get up every morning and you have to spend time alone or you can't do this.
Yeah, I mean, stress is a part of life, and it will always be a part of life. But it's how we walk through it. Just because we're getting stressful, it's not an excuse to yell at our kids or getting stressed out. Things are getting stressful. Just because, we're maybe dealing with the situation. I mean, almost daily, there's some kind of something that's going to come up to stress us out. That gives us the opportunity to be stressed. We can choose to react to that in the natural and in our flesh, or we can choose to react to that and represent Jesus well in the way we react. Unfortunately, I still have not arrived. I don't always represent Jesus well, especially in my home, because we're comfortable in our home environment. Most of us are. And so we are, because the people that we're comfortable with, they get, a lot of times us not handling our stress well. We have a tendency to manage our stress a little bit better out where people can see us. And, but
we put on that I want to look good, so I don't want people thinking that I don't have it together.
And honestly,
I am a hot mess of a mom, but I don't want people to know that.
Right. And then obviously that's operating in pride too, because then
100%.
Because if we can control it out there, we can control it in here.
Yes.
It's just us, not doing what we know we should be doing. And when we start to feel ourselves in that stress rising, and I mean, I can feel it. I can feel it in my shoulders. I can feel it me tensing. Most of us can feel it in our body that we are getting stressed out.
Yeah.
That's when we need to, even if a kid's there, even if you're holding a kid, and you can't step away, you can, under your breath, pray. I don't care what it looks like. You can pray silently. You can talk to God. You can just quietly say, God, I need peace. I need your peace to rest on me. I need, you need to be able to tap into that. And if you ask, if we will get out of our own heads and all of it and ask God, he will give it to us. But we can't get so wrapped up in what we're doing that we forget to ask, because a lot of the times it's just that simple. We get flowing in that back and forth and the stress of everything that's going on. We don't even ask God, hey, God, I need help,
Yeah.
We don't even ask, we don't even tap him in. We're just trying to do it all ourselves. We're just like,
we're trying to tap out. Tap out. Get me out of this.
Yes. And we don't even try
God's
to give
like,
it to him.
Tap me in. I'm here with you. Yeah,
right.
That's a good,
right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just said, we don't ask God. I think I've spent most of my time saying, why? Why are you doing this to me? Instead of saying, oh, maybe you should help me. Maybe I should let you help me. Instead, I'm trying to do it myself and then complaining, why are you putting me through this? And so that causes more stress.
it's like our little kids, wanting to carry the bag, wanting to carry the load themselves, and they're like fighting us for their right to carry it. That's like what we do to their right to carry it. It's the independence kind of, and that's what we do with so much of in our life. And stress is a big one of them. Like, no, God, I got this. Why?
Yeah.
He's there to carry it. He's there to help us through it. It's not meant for us to carry, and it's certainly not meant for us to carry alone.
Right.
Without his help. So we need to stop fighting for that right to carry it and just let him help us. Let him carry it.
There's a couple scriptures I wanted to read here, looking over here. One of them is Psalms 55:22. Those are two of my numbers. Cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you, and he will never let the righteous be shaken.
That's so true.
Isaiah 40:29-31 says He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak.
Yes.
1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you.
Yeah. There's
like
a peace just listening to those scriptures. There's a peace that you can just feel.
Matthew 6:34 says, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. How many times we're constantly worrying about
tomorrow?
Yeah. My favorite is all those who are heavy laden and weary, like, come to me and I will give you rest. Like that whole thing where, his yoke is light. Our burden might be heavy, but his yoke is light. He's the one that's going to carry that. When we're equally yoked with him, then we can take our heavy burdens to him. There's so many scriptures that I have had to meditate on and just continue to keep pouring into myself with those, because you do forget that. We do forget that we are not on this journey by ourselves. And I think that, like you said so beautifully, we're not meant to walk this by ourselves. We're meant to do this with God. And I think it's when we forget that and we get outside of that is when we start to stress. So it's almost like you're walking on the water, just like Peter, you're walking on the water. And as long as you're looking at Jesus and you're coming to him, then you're fine. But the minute you look down at the water, you're going to sink. So when the stress takes us over, we're looking down at the water. But we can take care of and do everything that God has called us to do as long as our eyes are on him, as long as we're meditating on those things that are good and pure and lovely and admirable of praise, all those things, instead of all the stuff that's negative. The enemy wants us to think about all the stuff that's negative. He wants us to focus on all those things. That actually causes that surge of cortisol, those surge of those hormones, those stress hormones, when we're thinking about all those things. So our thoughts are huge, very important as far as being able to manage our stress in our bodies.
A lot of that too is that taking your thoughts captive. When we sit there and we worry, like, oh my gosh, I got to do this tomorrow, I've got to do that tomorrow. And I have been so guilty of this and still am. I definitely am still trying to work this one out. But like worrying about everything you have to do the next day, or what it's going to look like, or a conversation that you're going to have with somebody, whatever. We need to learn to do exactly what the Bible says and take our thoughts captive. We have got to get control of that and just give it to God. Just start speaking scripture or put on a worship song and sing, whatever we have to do to shift those thoughts back to where it needs to be and get it off of that, the worry and the doubt and all the things that are stressing us out.
Yeah. I never looked at that, like you were saying, the worship. A lot of people think of worship as like just something you do in church on Sunday before the service. And, I'm sure every church across the country has people that show up after worship. They're like, oh, I'm going to come in late. I don't want to do the worship. But when I finally realized that worship for me not only was a place for me to like refuel, but it was a weapon against the enemy.
Absolutely.
When I am in the presence of God and I am worshiping, there is no way that Satan can come in and do anything. He can't reside in the same place. So even just putting worship music on in your house through your whatever device that you have where you play music from, and just allow that to just permeate through your house.
Yes.
That spirit can't reside in the same place where you're praising and worshiping. So it literally becomes a tool for you to use to be able to break off anything that is causing that stress and that pain that you're going through.
Yeah.
And so it's something that has to be a daily thing for me,
Same.
Prayer is a daily thing for me. journaling, or like I journal, I audio journal, so I'll record my thoughts, whatever I have to do. Like you said, sometimes you got to get away. I don't care if it's the bathroom, a closet, your car, you got kids crawling all over you. You've got to get away and compose yourself again and pull it together so that you could go in and do this job again, you know? So, anyway, there's so many tools and things that we could give you. Like I said, we're probably going to do a part 2 on this because we're already at, like 30 minutes here, and we want to take up too much time, and we want to be able to, you guys, watch these, like on your way to work or whatever. So we will bring this back again and be able to share a little bit more. I want to get into more of the biblical truths behind that and some things that would help anybody. So if you're a mom out there and you're listening, we just want you to know that you're not alone. We've been down that road. We understand what you're going through. We have dealt with it. We don't always have it together. Trust me.
No.
I just had an issue
still dealing with
yesterday.
it.
Right.
Yes, we're still dealing with
an
it.
issue with 𝗁cie that I was like, it's like the tube of toothpaste. You squeeze all the tube out of the toothpaste, and now you can't put it back. I had one of those issues with 𝗁cie. I could not take back what I said, and then I felt bad and had a mom moment that I had to deal with, and so trust me, we are not in any way experts on this, but we have walked this road. We're moms. We're walking this road, and we care about those that just don't feel seen or heard or understood. And if you're in that very stressful season of your life, or it's just not just a season, it's going to be a long-term thing, don't give up. Keep hanging in there. Not only do you have us by your side that you can plug into every single week, but you have the Holy Spirit, you have Jesus, you know what I mean? And, find yourself a local group too, if you can, or get into a church. This is not something that you should do alone. Isolation it's a breeding ground for the enemy.
Yes.
It literally is. And so it can be very isolating in this road. It's like you said, you can't bring 10 kids with you everywhere you go. You know what I mean? You want to show up to the party? No. And so a lot of times you're left and you're isolated alone, and it's not a good thing for a mom that's going through a stressful situation. So anyway, any final thoughts, Christina, before we say goodbye to our amazing listeners?
If you don't know where to start and it seems hard, just start with a few minutes starting your day out, just saying, just as simple as, God, I give this to you. I don't want to stress. I don't want to worry. You did not create us for this. I'm just handing it to you. Just be with me today. Give me peace that passes understanding. Just talk to him like you would talk to your friend, because that is who he is. That is who he is to us. So just hand it to him. And then throughout the day, as you're going throughout your day and you're feeling heavy again, give it back to him. Hand it back to him. Just continue to do it throughout the day as often as you need. You might have to do it every hour.
Some days I do, trust me.
Right. But just keep handing it to God. Just start small. Start, little. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or grand. Just as simple as talking to a friend, and just keep handing it to him as often as you need to.
Yeah. Very cool. Very good. Well, thank you, everybody, for taking the time to be with us today. We hope that this blessed you. If you know a mom that needs encouragement, share it with her. We appreciate all the support that we've gotten since we've launched the podcast, and everybody that's taken the time to share it, to, come to the channel. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on Amazon Music, we're on iHeartRadio, and we have a YouTube channel. Anywhere where you want to plug in and listen. We appreciate your support. So, do the things that everybody does, like, subscribe, and share.
Yes.
So that we can reach more moms that
all
are,
the things.
All the things, so that we can reach more moms in the trenches of extreme parenting. We just want them to know that they're not alone. So we thank you, and we love you, and we will see you again next time.
Yes.
Have an awesome week.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us and listening to the Junk Drawer Mamas podcast. If today's episode encouraged you, share it with a mom who could use a little extra love and support. We'd love to hear from you too. Leave us a review and let us know what you think, or send us your ideas for what you want us to tackle in the junk drawer. You can email us anytime at junkdrawermamas@gmail.com. Stay connected with us on social media. Follow Deena at 𝗵cie Empowered Moms and Christina at Faith Through Foster Care for more encouragement and updates on our upcoming books. From two mamas in the throes of extreme parenting, we want you to know that you're doing a great job, mama, and you don't have to have it all together. But what's hidden can't be healed, so let's keep sorting through it together, one step, one story, and one laugh at a time. See you next time when we tackle another item in the junk drawer of life. Have an awesome week.